Have you ever felt like you are holding on to a relationship or friendship because it feels comfortable and familiar, but it limits you and prevents you from reaching your full potential? It's a challenge to recognize that sometimes the people we are most connected to, with whom we have laughed, cried, had incredible experiences, and made countless memories, may not be meant to be a part of our lives indefinitely. It's a stark revelation, isn't it? But this is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism sheds transformative light on our modern dilemmas, clinging to a relationship that, although familiar and comfortable, is ultimately a difficult crossroads, full of mixed emotions and important decisions. Which way to take? It is important to remember that relationships that are unhealthy or do not allow us to flourish are not worth maintaining. If you find yourself in a situation like this, it is important that you take the time to reflect on the relationship and decide if it is best for you. The Stoics, with their deep insights into human nature and the pursuit of a fulfilled life, remind us that personal growth often requires making difficult decisions about who we allow into our inner circle. Today we'll dive deep into the heart of Stoic wisdom to explore the 11 signs that it's time to lovingly release certain bonds, making room for new growth, deeper connections, and a life aligned with your highest virtues. Are you ready? Let yourself be guided by the timeless teachings of Stoicism to discover the freedom and peace that comes from choosing our relationships with wisdom and courage. It's not about excluding people with cold indifference, but about curating our lives with intention, choosing relationships that uplift us, inspire us, and challenge us to be our best selves. It is important to know how to recognize the relationships that repress growth. If a relationship prevents you from growing, it is a red flag. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever felt stuck, like you're not moving forward because someone close to you isn't encouraging you, or worse yet, is actively holding you back? It's a very difficult situation, isn't it? And even more so if that person has close ties with you or there is a feeling of love involved. Seneca, whose deep Stoic wisdom was about the power of growth and self-improvement, believed that to live a life worth living, we must constantly evolve, learn, and overcome our limits. So, if you're in a relationship, whether with a friend, family member, or partner, and you feel like it's limiting you, Seneca would probably tell you that's a red flag you can't ignore. The people who care about you should want to see you flourish. They should be your most ardent supporters, your cheerleaders, your strongest rock to lean on. Your relationships should not be anchors that drag you to the depths. If this is how you feel and you see the red flag waving, it's worth sitting down and having an honest conversation with yourself. Ask yourself, why am I still holding on to this relationship? Is it out of habit? Why do I feel trapped? Why don't I feel valued? These are difficult but necessary questions, and the answers may be even thornier. True connections, the ones that are really worthwhile, should lift you up. They should make you feel that you are capable of being more and better today than you were yesterday. Stoicism teaches us the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who contribute positively to our lives. It's not about accumulating friends or being liked, but about building a circle that enriches your life, fosters your growth, and aligns with your values. So if you find yourself in a relationship that feels like quicksand rather than a launching pad, maybe it's time to reconsider its place in your life. Remember that it is not selfish to want to grow. It is human, and sometimes growth means letting go of those who hold us back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude for the lessons learned. Reflect on your relationships and consider whether they are bridges to your best self or barriers to your growth. And remember, the journey of self-improvement is never a solo journey. We need the right partners to make it truly worth it. Learn to navigate negative emotions with Stoic wisdom. We have all felt at one time or another caught in a whirlwind of negative emotions within a relationship. Have you ever found yourself in that situation where it feels like drama is the main course and support isn't even on the menu? It's exhausting, isn't it? Marcus Aurelius had some powerful ideas for dealing with our emotions. He said that we have control over our minds, not external events, and when we understand this, we realize that this is where our true power lies. This is a game changer, when you apply it to relationships filled with jealousy, anger, or any other negative emotion that seems to dominate the landscape. Think about this. If your relationship feels more like a battlefield than a safe haven, it's a strong and clear sign that something must be generating these emotions. It is a mistake to think that shared human experience must be the basis or defining features of any relationship that aspires to last and bring peace. While shared experiences can create a strong bond, they are not the only determining factor in the health and longevity of a relationship. I'm not suggesting that we can or should aspire to live without feeling angry or jealous. That would be like trying to breathe without air. But what Marcus Aurelius teaches us is that we are in the driver's seat when it comes to our reactions to these situations. If jealousy arises because a friend seems to be moving forward in life while you feel stuck, or if anger arises every time a certain person weakens you, remember that you control your reaction. You can choose not to let these emotions dictate the terms of your relationship, but what does that look like in practice? It starts with awareness, recognizing when you feel these emotions and asking yourself, why do I feel this way? What can I learn from this? How can I respond in a way that aligns with the person I aspire to be? These are not easy questions, but they are essential, and sometimes the healthiest reaction is to create distance or make a change. It's not about running away from problems, but about recognizing that if the core of a relationship is more about sending each other into negative spirals rather than lifting each other up, maybe it's time to reevaluate. This doesn't mean you failed or that the other person is a villain in your story. It's simply recognizing that not all relationships are meant to last every stage of our lives, and that's okay. The Stoics advise living in accordance with nature, and sometimes the natural course of things leads you to distance yourself. So, if you find yourself constantly struggling with negative emotions in any of your relationships, take a moment and reflect on the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Remember that you have the power over your mind, your reactions, and ultimately the choice to surround yourself with relationships rooted in positive, supportive energies. It is in these environments where we can truly thrive. Let's grow and find peace. Let's not let drama define our relationships, but let's cultivate connections that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and genuine support. Because at the end of the day, those are the relationships that stand the test of time. The danger of manipulation and control. Let's address a complicated but crucial topic, the role of manipulation and control in our relationships. In any type of relationship, feeling more like a puppet than a partner is a huge red flag. The wise Epictetus once said that no one is free if he is not master of himself. Think for a moment that true freedom comes from within, from having control of our actions, decisions, and ultimately our lives. So what does it mean for us when we find ourselves in relationships where we feel like we are not the ones making the decisions, where our decisions, desires, and even our thoughts seem to be under someone else's control? This is a strong and clear sign that something is not right. Manipulation and control can stalk us in various ways. They can be subtle, such as constant suggestions that take you away from your passions, or direct demands that dictate who you should be or what you should do. These are not characteristics of a healthy relationship or true connections. The relationships that are truly worth our time and emotional investment are based on mutual respect and freedom. Stoicism teaches us about the importance of autonomy, being the captain of your own ship. If you find yourself in a relationship where you're constantly second-guessing your choices or feeling like your wings are being clipped, it's worth asking yourself, why stay in a dynamic that stifles your freedom and prevents you from being the author of your own life story? Cutting ties with someone who is manipulating or controlling you is not about being harsh or cruel, but rather about honoring your worth, your autonomy, and your right to live a life that is true to yourself. It is about taking wisdom seriously. Of Epictetus and claim your freedom. You are free to make your own decisions to grow and live a life aligned with your values. Making the decision to walk away from those relationships can be incredibly difficult. It can mean letting go of something familiar or even someone you care about deeply. But remember, Stoicism is not about taking the easy path, but the right path, the one that distances us from what harms us and leads us towards a more authentic and fulfilling existence. True relationships, those that truly enrich our lives, are those that respect our individuality and freedom, encourage us to explore, question, grow. They do not try to mold us into something we are not or dictate how we should live our lives. So if you feel like someone is pulling your strings, take a moment to reflect on the words of Epictetus. No one is truly free who is not master of himself. Ask yourself if it's time to cut those threads and embrace the freedom of being authentically you. It is a journey worth taking a step towards, a life where you are in control. Surround yourself with relationships that elevate and respect your autonomy and freedom. Let's value and seek those connections that empower us and allow us to be owners of our own lives, because at the end of the day, that is what true friendship and love is. Identify the dynamics of unhealthy relationships. When a relationship starts to do more harm than good, we should break free, not stop and see what happens. When time spent with someone leaves you feeling more drained than energized, more stressed than supported, it's like you're constantly walking on eggshells or broken glass. They get caught in an endless cycle of arguing or just feeling depressed every time they are around. These are obvious red flags that something is seriously out of place. The healthy connections that we all deserve and strive for are supposed to make us feel good. They are meant to enrich our lives, bring us joy, and support us through the ups and downs. They are not supposed to complicate our lives with constant stress or make us question our worth. The Stoics tried to live in harmony with nature, pursuing virtue and tranquility. They believed in the importance of maintaining relationships that are in line with these principles. This is why if you find yourself in a relationship that takes you away from peace and being your best self, it is worth considering. What could the Stoics advise us? They would probably encourage us to step back and examine the situation objectively. Is this relationship contributing to your well-being? Does it help you grow as a person, or is it a source of constant negativity? If it only drains your energy and leaves you feeling worse, then it might be time to ask yourself if this connection is truly serving your highest good. Remember that Stoicism teaches us the value of self-awareness and the courage to make difficult decisions that align with our well-being and virtues. It's not about being cold or insensitive, but about recognizing what is truly beneficial for us in the long term, and sometimes that means making the difficult decision to distance ourselves from relationships that do more harm than good. This isn't to say that every bad streak means a relationship is toxic or should end, but if you constantly feel worse because of someone's presence in your life, it's a sign that something needs to change. Healthy relationships have their challenges, but at their core they are sources of support, love, and mutual growth. So, if you are feeling this resonate with your current situation, take a moment to reflect. Consider what steps you can take to address the issues. Communication is key. Maybe it's time for an open and honest conversation about how you feel. If things don't change, remember that it is okay to prioritize your peace and well-being. The Stoics remind us that our responsibility to ourselves includes nurturing relationships that are healthy and letting go of those that are not. Let's commit to seeking and cultivating connections that feel healthy and add to our lives rather than complicate them, because at the end of the day, we all deserve relationships that bring us joy, growth, and peace of mind. Remember that it is by facing these challenges, making these difficult decisions, that we will become stronger and more aligned with our true selves. That is the Stoic way of accepting what serves us and having the wisdom to let go of what does not. The lack of mutual respect is another decisive factor. Without respect, there is no basis for anything positive. The Stoics, wise in the concept of living a virtuous life, placed great emphasis on self-respect and the respect we owe others. They were convinced that each individual possesses value and dignity, and this belief should be reflected in how we treat each other. So if you find yourself in a relationship where you're not treated with the dignity you deserve, that's a big red flag. It's not just about feeling undervalued, but about recognizing that a fundamental aspect of your humanity is being ignored. Mutual respect is the foundation of any healthy connection. It is the foundation on which trust, love, and genuine understanding are built. If that is missing, what is left is a relationship that is hollow, unsatisfying, and, frankly, not worth spending time or emotion on. You might wonder, what if it's not that simple? What if I really care about this person? And those are very valid points of view. Relationships are complex, and emotions are powerful, but this is where the wisdom of Stoicism arises. The Stoics were all about clarity, rationality, and living in alignment with our highest values. We would be encouraged to take a step back and evaluate our relationships through this lens. Are we being true to ourselves by staying in this situation where we are not respected? If the answer is no, then it might be time for a serious re-evaluation. This doesn't necessarily mean cutting someone out of your life with cold precision. It's about recognizing your own value and making decisions that reflect what it might mean to set clearer boundaries. It is necessary to have an open-heart conversation about how you feel, or in some cases, recognize that it is time to move on. Remember, respect yourself and insist on being treated with respect by others. This is not being selfish or demanding. It is a reflection of the self-esteem that the Stoics believed each of us should cultivate. It's about living with integrity and ensuring your relationships reflect the respect and virtue you seek in your own life. So if you're dealing with a lack of mutual respect, take a moment to reflect on what that means to you and your well-being. Consider how you can address this problem. At the end of the day, each of us deserves to be in relationships where we are treated with the respect and consideration we would give in return. Let us strive to cultivate connections rooted in mutual respect, where each person is valued and appreciated for who they are. That is the type of relationship that not only survives but thrives, reflecting the best of a life based on Stoic wisdom. More reality and less illusions. Sometimes we feel tied to illusions instead of reality. Stoicism tells us that we must accept the reality of our lives, our relationships, and the world around us, not as we wish them to be, but as they really are. The Stoics, with their pragmatic and grounded approach to life, teach us that there is profound strength and freedom in seeing things clearly, without the rose-colored glasses that wishful thinking often provides. So what does this mean for our relationships? It means looking at them honestly and asking whether they are rooted in reality or not. If we hold on to a fantasy, are we ignoring red flags, glossing over problems, or painting a picture of someone that doesn't match who they really are? If so, we are not doing ourselves or our partners any favors by being bound by illusions in a relationship. You may feel like you are trapped in a mirage. From a distance, everything seems perfect, but as you get closer, you realize that it is just an illusion that lacks substance and truth. This is not to say that hope and aspirations have no place in relationships, but there is a fine line between healthy aspirations and losing ourselves in fantasies that detract from our ability to engage with the genuine nature of our connections. Embracing the truth, as the Stoics would advise, is about confronting these illusions, having the courage to recognize and accept the reality of our relationships, even when they are uncomfortable or painful. This is not an easy task. It requires a level of honesty and vulnerability that can be daunting, but there truly is incredible power. It is the foundation on which genuine and meaningful relationships are built. The process of accepting reality over illusion can be transformative. It can mean recognizing that a relationship is not what you thought it was, or that the person you are with is not who you expected. Realizing this can be a bitter pill to swallow, but it is also a crucial step toward genuine growth and emotional freedom. It opens the space for you to engage in authentic relationships where you can love and be loved for who you really are, not for the illusions you have built. So, if you feel bound by wishful thinking, take a moment to reflect on what aspects of your relationship are real and what parts you have embellished or imagined, and how a hit of reality would affect your happiness. Remember that Stoicism is not about pessimism or resigning ourselves to unhappiness, but quite the opposite. It is about finding peace and contentment by aligning ourselves with the truth of how things are. By accepting reality, we can navigate our lives and relationships with wisdom, clarity, and a sense of grounding that wishful thinking simply cannot provide. Let us challenge ourselves to look at our relationships through the lens of Stoic acceptance, embrace the truth no matter how difficult it may be, and in doing so open ourselves to genuine, fulfilling connections that enrich our lives in meaningful ways. After all, in the clarity of truth, we find the path to genuine happiness and love. Don't negotiate or compromise your values. Compromising your values should never be on the negotiating table. These are the principles of the moral compass that directs our decisions, actions, and ultimately, the course of our lives. Now here's a question that might hit closer to home than we'd like. What happens when a relationship challenges our values? Stoicism has some invaluable insights on this matter. Stoics would argue that compromising our core values for the sake of a relationship is too high a price to pay. Our values are the essence of who we are. They shape our identity, influence our choices, and dictate how we interact with the world around us. To engage with them is to lose apart from ourselves. No relationship that requires you to act in ways that contradict your values is worth it. They may be small things at first, but over time, these commitments begin to accumulate, eroding your sense of self. This is not just about making sacrifices or making compromises that are normal parts of any healthy relationship, but about betraying the very core of your being. The Stoics teach us that integrity and virtue are not just high ideals, but practical guides to living a healthy life. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all emphasize the importance of staying true to oneself and living in alignment with our own values, regardless of external pressures or temptations. This alignment is what gives our lives meaningful direction and a sense of purpose. So if you find yourself in a situation where a relationship requires you to betray your values, it's a clear sign to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, does this relationship serve my highest good? Allow me to grow and prosper? Or is it holding me back? It is not an easy situation to deal with, especially when emotions are involved. But this is where the Stoic practice of self-reflection and rational analysis can be your ally as you step back and evaluate the relationship. By seeing through your values, you can make decisions that are not only right for you, but also honor the person you strive to be. And remember that walking away from a relationship that compromises your values is not a sign of failure. It is a brave act on your part. It is a statement that you value yourself enough to only accept relationships that uplift you, respect you, and align with the essence of who you are. Let us challenge ourselves to live with the integrity and virtue that the Stoics so admired. Let's make sure our relationships reflect and respect our values, not undermine them. It is adherence to our values that defines us, guides us through life's ups and downs, and leads us to true fulfillment. Them, and never compromise with them for anything or anyone. In doing so, you will not only honor the wisdom of the Stoics, but you will also pave the way for relationships that are genuinely meaningful and truly enriching. Give and take. When we talk about reciprocity, we are referring to the balance between giving and receiving. It is about mutual support where both parties contribute to the relationship in equal measure. But what happens when this balance doesn't work? When you find yourself in a one-sided relationship, constantly giving, but you rarely get anything in return? Reciprocity isn't just nice to have, it's key to the health and longevity of any relationship. Think about it, a relationship in which one person is always the giver and the other is always the receiver is totally unbalanced. It can lead to resentment, exhaustion, and contempt on the part of the giver and dependence on the part of the receiver. This imbalance undermines the very essence of what a healthy relationship is. The Stoics had a lot to say about the nature of relationships and the importance of mutual support. They believed in the value of contributing to the well-being of others, but not at the expense of one's own well-being. For the Stoics, the ideal relationship is one of harmony and mutual respect, where both individuals support each other in their pursuit of virtue and a good life. If you find yourself stuck in a one-sided relationship, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on the Stoic principles of balance and mutual respect. Are you respecting yourself by allowing this imbalance to continue? Are you respecting the other person by allowing a dynamic that doesn't foster their growth or contribution? Addressing this imbalance does not necessarily mean ending the relationship, but can be an opportunity for growth for both parties. Start with communication by expressing your needs, setting boundaries, and discussing ways to bring more balance to the relationship. It is about encouraging and allowing the other person to contribute more, not only materially, but also emotionally and spiritually. Healthy relationships are dynamic. They evolve over time, they require effort, commitment, and willingness to adapt. But the basis must always be reciprocity. Each person must feel valued, listened to, and supported. Mutual support that builds trust deepens connection and fosters an environment where both people can thrive. Remember that seeking balance in your relationships is not selfish, it is necessary. It's about ensuring that you are not only giving, but also receiving the support, love, and respect you deserve. We must build relationships that are not only sustainable, but truly enriching for both parties. So let's strive to cultivate relationships where reciprocity is the norm, not the exception. Let's take the advice of the Stoics to heart, creating connections that uplift and support everyone involved. This is the true essence of ideal relationships of balance and mutual respect. Abusive relationships. This is a difficult topic to address, but it is crucial that we talk about it. Abuse in any form, whether physical, emotional, verbal, or psychological, is a clear and unmistakable sign that it is time to leave the relationship. Stoicism, a philosophy deeply rooted in the principles of dignity, self-respect, and the value of the human spirit, unequivocally condemns any form of abuse. Such behavior destroys the very foundation of trust and security upon which relationships should be built. Stoicism teaches us the importance of recognizing our worth and insists on the need to maintain our dignity and self-respect. These are not just high ideals, but practical guidelines intended to direct our actions and choices, especially in the face of adversity, when we find ourselves in situations where these fundamental principles are violated. Stoicism urges us to act not out of revenge or anger, but out of respect for ourselves and the value of our well-being. Abuse tramples on dignity and self-respect. It seeks to diminish the victim's sense of identity, to control and instill fear. This is the antithesis of everything that Stoicism represents. The Stoic response to such a situation is clear. Seeking help and getting out of the relationship is not only important, it is necessary. It is a step that aligns with the Stoic commitment to live a virtuous and dignified life, one that respects the inherent value of each individual, starting with oneself. Leaving an abusive relationship is without a doubt one of the most challenging decisions one can make. To achieve this requires immense courage, strength, and often the support of others. This is where the Stoic practice of seeking wisdom from those who have faced similar challenges, or from professionals who can offer guidance and support, becomes invaluable. Seek help, whether from friends or family, or professional services, is not a sign of weakness but of strength. It is an affirmation of one's worth and a commitment to live a life free of harm. Furthermore, Stoicism does not limit itself to advocating a way out of abusive situations. It also emphasizes the process of healing and regaining dignity and self-respect after such experiences. It teaches us that while we may not have control over the actions of others, we do have control over how we respond to those actions and how we behave. Moving toward healing from abuse is in many ways a Stoic journey. It is about reasserting control over our inner world, to reaffirm one's own values and rebuild one's life in alignment with those values. We must be clear on this delicate and complex issue. I want you to know that if you are in a situation where you are facing abuse, it is not your fault, that you are not alone, and you should ask for help. Lean on your family and friends, seek help from professionals, and let yourself be guided by Stoic wisdom. They will be the driving force and the force to take the necessary measures to leave that situation behind. These actions reflect the greatest respect you can show towards yourself. They are steps towards a life where your dignity, self-respect, and well-being will be prioritized as they should be. Let us remember the importance of valuing ourselves, respecting our value, and taking decisive action to distance ourselves from harmful situations. Let us remain steadfast in our commitment to the pursuit of a life that is not only free of abuse, but also rich in virtue and meaning. Address failed communication. Failed communication can be a difficult obstacle. What happens when communication fails within a relationship? Communication breakdowns occur when attempts to talk things through go nowhere. Finding common ground feels like an insurmountable task, and mutual understanding seems like a distant dream. This is not just a small bump in the road, it is a warning sign of deeper problems that need to be addressed. Stoicism, with its timeless wisdom, also has a guide for us. Effective communication is the lifeblood of any thriving relationship. It is the way we express our needs, share our thoughts, and connect with each other on a meaningful level. Without it, we navigate our relationships in the dark. We try to guess what the other person is thinking or feeling, and probably most of the time, we are wrong. The Stoics understood the value of clear and honest communication and practiced it in their lives and encouraged it in their teachings by emphasizing the importance of listening, understanding, and responding with wisdom and empathy. So what do we do when communication breaks down? It is first crucial to recognize that failed communication is often a symptom of underlying issues, which could be lack of trust, unresolved resentments, or simply a difference in communication styles. Whatever the cause, Stoicism teaches us to approach the problem with a clear head and a willing heart that encourages us to look within. We must examine the role we have played in the breakdown of communication and strive for clarity and honesty in our interactions. Marcus Aurelius was a strong advocate of using reason and logic to face life's challenges. I would probably suggest that we apply these same tools to address communication problems. This means taking a step back, removing emotions from the equation as much as possible, and analyzing the situation objectively. You must ask yourself, where does communication fail? What steps can I take to improve it? Improving communication requires effort from all parties involved. It's about creating a safe space where each person feels heard and valued. It's about active listening, not just waiting your turn to speak, but trying to truly understand the other person's perspective. A Stoic knows to express themselves clearly and respectfully, without accusations or assumptions, and perhaps most importantly, to have the patience and perseverance to keep trying, even when you feel like you are not making progress. Stoicism also reminds us of the importance of empathy and compassion in our communications. Remember that everyone has their struggles, fears, and insecurities, and sometimes what seems like hostility or indifference is actually a defense mechanism. By approaching our communications with empathy, we open the door to deeper understanding. Communication does not have to be the end of a relationship, but can be an opportunity for growth for both people and the relationship itself. It is an opportunity to learn more about each other, to develop better communication skills, and build a stronger, more resilient bond. Thus, the Stoic sages recommend that if you face communication challenges, you take your time. Take a moment to reflect on the Stoic principles of clarity, honesty, and empathy, and use them as a guide to overcome problems. And remember that the goal is not just to talk more, but to communicate better. In the richness of effective communication, we find the true essence of connection and understanding. The foundation on which meaningful relationships are built. Imagine this as a relationship that, instead of being a source of peace and comfort, feels more like a storm that constantly disturbs your inner calm and leaves you feeling restless. It's hard. Connections are supposed to enrich our lives, not end up costing us peace of mind. This is a clear sign that it is time to pause and reflect on the role that relationship plays in your life. Stoicism places immense value on tranquility, teaching us to cultivate a state of inner calm that remains undisturbed by external circumstances. The Stoics believe that peace of mind is not only a precious commodity, but is essential to living a good life, teaching us that we should strive to maintain our equanimity in the face of life's ups and downs. This includes navigating our relationships with wisdom and discernment. So, what do we do when a relationship constantly disturbs our peace of mind? First, Stoicism encourages us to step back and examine the situation objectively. Ask yourself, Why does this relationship disturb my peace? Is it the other person's behavior? Am I to blame? Are my unresolved conflicts, or perhaps my own reactions and expectations, to blame? This process of self-examination is crucial because it moves us from a place of emotional reaction to one of rational response once we have identified the source of the disturbance. The next step is to consider what can be changed. Can problems be addressed through open and honest communication? Are there boundaries that need to be established or reinforced? Remember that Stoicism does not advocate passive acceptance of all situations. While it teaches us to accept the things we cannot change, it also encourages us to take action where we can make a positive difference. However, if after careful consideration and effort, the relationship remains a source of confusion, it may be time to question its place in your life. It's a difficult and sad situation, but think it's not about giving up at the first sign of trouble or conflict, but about recognizing when a relationship is fundamentally out of alignment. Seeking peace of mind in connections. With your values and your search for peace of mind, the decision to distance yourself from a relationship that disturbs your peace should not be taken lightly. It takes courage, honesty, and sometimes a willingness to let go for the sake of your own well-being. But remember that the Stoic goal is not to eliminate all sources of discomfort in our lives, but rather to cultivate an inner resilience that allows us to face challenges with equanimity. In the end, the relationships we choose to maintain must support our pursuit of peace of mind. Our relationships, whatever their nature, should be sources of strength, growth, and joy, not constant discomfort. So if you find yourself constantly disturbed by a relationship, consider it an opportunity to practice Stoic wisdom. Reflect, evaluate, and choose the path that leads to peace. Let us strive to surround ourselves with people who contribute to our peace of mind, instead of detracting from it. In doing so, we honor not only Stoic teachings, but also our own journey toward a life of peace, purpose, and deep fulfillment. Remember that the quality of our lives is greatly influenced by the quality of our relationships. It is about finding balance, embracing the truth, cultivating respect, and, above all, ensuring that our connections enrich our lives without compromising our peace. I hope these signs we've explored guide you through the challenges and joys of your relationships. Let the Stoic principles be the beacon of light that leads you on the right path toward the pursuit of tranquility, virtue, and wisdom. I insist, do not wait for bad relationships to undermine your value. You are not alone. This is a journey in which we are all together to support each other. I would like you to tell us about your experiences and how you have overcome bad relationships. It will be of great help to our community. That's it for today's video. If you liked it, give us a like and continue with us. Together, we will walk the path of learning and growth within the wisdom of Stoicism.